necessary adjustments. We made some a little better last night, and that's why we won. But like I said, I don't think that they just didn't play hard, and that's why they lost.
You don't feel there'll be any more desperation? That word comes out a lot of times in these situations.
No, I mean, I think they're a veteran basketball team, so you don't really see the sense of desperation that maybe in a younger team you might expect in this case. But really there hasn't been much that has happened. We won a game at home, which you're supposed to do when you have home court, and you're considered to be one of the best teams. And I mean, it's really more about us winning on Sunday than it is them even per se. Because they're going back home for 3 games where even though in the regular season they weren't necessarily the greatest home team, in the playoffs they've been absolutely dominant. So it's really about us playing and keeping our focus locked in for game 2, and not really not playing with desperation, I guess, as we started off with, but definitely playing with a sense of urgency.
What's the difference you see between Powell now and then maybe in the '08 finals, or even leading up to this?
I think just he's continued to gain an understanding of what it is we do here, as a team, and he's deeply a part of us now, whereas opposed to in '08, he really only been with us a few months, and so the expectations and what this all meant was probably still foreign for him. And now having been together now 2+ almost 3 years, I just think that the connective tissues and the core of our team is just stronger together. And so that's what I think it's related to. I'm definitely not thinking that all of a sudden he's just chosen to be more physical or play harder or play stronger. I think he just understands more what it takes on this team, for us to win. He was coming from a situation in Memphis where, he's a franchise guy and, still adjusting to having to play with a guy like Kobe. 2 years later, he understands those balances, and I think that's why he's still able to play at a very efficient level.
Your teammates talked about they expect the Celtics to be angry and mad in game 2. Are you expecting more of a street fight and more intensity from those guys?
Yeah. Like I just said, I don't think that it'll necessarily be measurable, the difference. But, sometimes when you have a setback or you're knocked down, it just brings certain things to focus. And because they're a veteran team and they're coached well, I definitely think you can expect some adjustments and some things to happen out there that'll be much better for them. At the same time, those don't necessarily factor into how we play. I think that they will and have to do some things better, and they'll make adjustments and be better. But a lot of that doesn't have anything to do with how we prepare for the game and how ready we are and what we do out there. So I think you'll see both teams, come back and probably play a better, even if it's more physical, more aggressive, a cleaner game. Maybe not as many free throws, more of a, just a basketball game, and it should be a lot of fun.
Fish, what have you tried to teach, I guess, Norman and Shannon? Is there anything you're trying to impress upon them just during practice, and how do you think they've done? Just kind of giving you a break sometimes.
No, I really, pick my spots carefully with talking to individual guys about, what they should or shouldn't be doing with their game. A lot of times I'm more of a leader by example, in terms of the way I approach practice and games and those things day to day. And then, of course, if I see something during the game that I can be helpful with, I'll mention it to those guys. But, they're both very talented, very competitive. They've made me better, and I'd like to hope that I've made them better. We challenge each other every day when we're in practice, and so they've been instrumental in our success so far, and I know they want nothing more than for us to finish the job.
And when you guys play teams that have a, I guess, quote-unquote superstar point guard, does that motivate the three you even more or less? Just when you hear a lot of PR on either Rajon or Darren Williams or just whoever you play, do the three of you ever get any added motivation just to do well, just when there's so much hype placed on the other team's point guards, or not?
Not really. I think, I've known for a while, and I think those two guys have come to learn that, on the type of teams that we have and in our system, you're not going to stack yourself up against, the other top point guards and try and turn it into a, kind of matchup kind of thing. That's just not what we do. You statistically, opportunities, even minutes, they aren't comparisons really. So you just have to kind of stay focused on what you do best for the team and make the contributions when you can. And, the greatest equalizer is the success of the team. That's pretty much what has to be your voice a lot of times from that lead guard spot.
Have you given any thought to next season playing, beyond the end of this contract, and whether it's here or somewhere else?
Yeah, I've given thought to it because it's a reality of our business. But other than that, I haven't really, I guess, crystallized in my mind what that will look like.
You're not going to retire?
No, my plan is not to retire.
Derek, on the
only
flip
thing
side
that would
of
change
that
that would be some, physical limitations. But at this point, I'm not.
No physical problems?
Not at this point, no. No, I'm keeping my fingers crossed though, and hoping we can, next couple weeks.
There was some talk that your game had fallen off. Do you think you've kind of answered whatever criticism there was here in the playoffs? Your average is up, your minutes are up, team's winning. Obviously.
I mean, maybe for a week or 2 days, maybe. But I mean, depending on what happens in the game on Sunday, that's over. You know what I mean? So, like I was just saying, on this team, you can't get too caught up in, individually how your numbers look, and then, the criticism that then comes with that, let that kind of push you into making certain decisions that you don't really want to make. So, I just stay the course, and I'll deal with July when it gets here.
Yeah. Are you determined to be a Laker? I mean, do you want to be a Laker for the rest of your career?
I mean, I would love to. I've spent 11 of my 14 years here. Obviously we've had a great deal of success, and that's.
The answer is yes.
Derek, in the interview room a minute ago, Kobe was just talking.
Kobe got to go to the interview room.
Yeah,
standing out here.
Yeah, you didn't get to go. Yeah, he was talking about the difference.
Everyone's practice, and he gets to sit down.
Everybody talks about how serious he is now, man on a mission, all that kind of stuff. He admitted there's a difference between early in his career winning those titles, having gone through some of those tough seasons, not making the playoffs. 2 first-round losses in a row. What difference have you noticed in his? He says as you get older, you realize opportunities become less. What difference have you noticed in him even being more serious due to that?
I would say the latter is probably the biggest difference.
The opportunity.
Yeah, just the opportunities and the understanding of how special this is, and a lot of times that doesn't come unless you've lived some life. And earlier in his career and mine, I mean, playing with Shaq and, the dominance that we put out on the floor, those were different times. And, like I've said before, for him, now being married 10 years and 2 daughters, and, life just changes for you in terms of what's important, your perspective. And so, I just think that he understands that he's not immortal in terms of basketball. And, how long from 2002 to 2009, things really were on the basketball level to get back to this point. So that's what I think really is the motivator.
Did he joke around maybe more during finals when you won it the first 3 times in the last couple of years? He has a different demeanor,
I don't know if he joked around more, but I think that his responsibilities have changed. So as a father, you understand that. You when your responsibilities change, you have to lock in a lot more. And so I think he just understands, there were differences in what he had to do in order for us to win, then as opposed to now. And now the defense is geared towards stopping him.
Yeah.
Then the defense was geared towards stopping Shaq. And so, he has to think of the game in a different way compared to them.
And then probably the legal problems he went through, did that change him maybe at all, or would you say, all this stuff in Colorado?
I'm sure it did. that's not something I've spoke on very much,
Right.
but I can only imagine, you know, going through that type of situation would definitely change the way you view yourself, the way you view other people, you know, and you know he's grown a great deal since that.
With what you've had to handle off the court as a father, has it changed your game a whole lot? Or your perspective on basketball and your career about what's important?
For sure. You know, being married and being a father, you know, I think the biggest thing that jumps out at me is the ability to handle adversity and a loss or a bad game or whatever that you consider to be negative in sports. You know, when there's a certain piece that you have at home, you're able to kind of let those things go and come back and be ready to fight again. And that's what I've noticed for me is the biggest thing. I used to carry a loss or a bad game for way too long. And, you know, now, you know, when I get home, the kids are asleep, but the next morning when I see them, they don't know how many points we won by or lost by or how many points I scored or who did what or what my guy did that I was the guard. Like, none of that really matters. And so it really helps me to just kind of take a breath, you know, and remember that this still is basketball. It's still very important. It's important to us. It's important to our fans, but it's not everything. And I think that's helped me take a much more, even though I'm still focused and intense, and I'm able to enjoy and smile and laugh a lot more.